So now I'm going to show you the accordion folds. So starting with, it could be a square or a rectangular shaped piece of cloth. Like I said, this is a square napkin. It's 100% cotton, so cotton is really good with natural dyes. You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna just kind of fold it like a fan. Now, because I've had a lot of practice with this, I know what size pleat I want, and I also kind of know about how many pleats I can get out of a piece. So this is about 6 pleats, but of course, if I wanted to, I could make the pleats skinnier or wider. But for this napkin, I'm going to use about 6 pleats. They don't have to be perfect, but get them as even as you can. And so again, I'm just going to show that again really fast for the first time. You're doing a back and forth. It really has to go back and forth because you want the dye, with shibori dyeing, you really want the dye to be able to penetrate inside the slits or the slots, kind of on the edges of the fabric. So you're gonna go back and forth, get about 6 nice pleats. So that's your accordion fold, that's your basic accordion. And then from there, you have some choices. There are quite a few different tools that you can use to clamp your piece. Sometimes, like this is like a little wood rectangle set. I have a long wood rectangle set. And then this is like the original set that I first started with, and this is what comes with my shibori kit, is I use these clamps here. So that's kind of your most standard sizes. So if you wanted to do, you can also cut paint stirs in half, cut them down, and I've been using these as like long rectangles, so I could do that too. I could just fold it in half and then secure my grid, and that's going to create a different pattern than what I showed you. I think I'm going to go for the medium size though and do kind of something like that. So for that, I do estimate the length of my shape because I know I want some dye seepage on the edges. I know that this can fold, I think, about 3 times across, and see how it's kind of the perfect, slightly smaller than my pleated shape. I'm gonna go ahead and clamp the top. You can see I've used this one before in the Indigo. I'm gonna clamp the bottom, and then to secure it, so it kind of like looks like a sandwich. To secure it, I use rubber bands, and I kind of like these really thick, big bands because they put a lot of pressure and you only need one. So I'm gonna do one there, and I'm gonna do one over here. Let's see. And you should see both. Yeah, so right now that's my accordion grid, basic, all right? Now we're gonna do something just a little bit different to create our fan fold or our accordion fold on the diagonal. So I'm gonna grab another napkin. Like I said, I use these, kind of do these organic cloth napkins. And I'll show you in the links at the bottom of the video. I buy them from this really cool brand called Maiwa, which is all organic cotton, fair trade. So I really believe in their products. I'm gonna go ahead and this time, I'm gonna fold my fan on the diagonal. So what you can do is you can go ahead and just fold a quarter down. Again, thinking about how wide you want your pleats to be. So you can do skinny. I feel like artists play with the line width and the kind of create some variety in their work. You could do really skinny. It gets a little bit more tricky, but since this is a smaller piece, I'm sure I can do these really, really skinny pleats and you know, have success with that. So let me go ahead and keep it really skinny. But as you see, you know, because it's so skinny, it's a little harder for me to keep them, there we go, all in a line. Some people would even use an iron for this. So I do iron mine from time to time, but I usually iron it when I'm working on a much larger piece and I really need those pleats to stay flat. Since this is not slippery, It's not silk or rayon, which I sometimes use instead of cotton. The pleats on the cotton and the stiffer fabrics kind of stay nicely, but I did give myself a little challenge by doing these little skinny pleats. So I'm going to keep going until they're all kind of laying down evenly. And then when I get to the end, I'll show you how to tie it. So like I said in the intro, Shibori is the art of folding and then binding fabrics. So as you saw, rubber bands are essential in tying these off, kind of similar to American tie-dye. But you can also use twine or cords. So if you have any like a hemp twine or cord at home, then I also recommend using twining cords to tie things off. So now that I've got everything pleated, I'm pretty happy with it. I think that a little spontaneity is fun in the piece. You're gonna wanna go ahead and fold that over too. So just like last time we folded it over 3 times, you're gonna do that same fan fold from the end. I think I'm gonna go for 4. So I'm gonna do 1, and then you can flip if you can hold it together. 2, flip, and then 3, 4. So that you can see it's kind of folded back and forth. Even, you don't have to be too particular about it. You can tuck those little ends there, and something cool will definitely happen. So I folded this back and forth about 4 times. Again, it should look like a little sandwich folded together. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and you can secure it again with blocks. That would be one decision. In that case, a lot of dye would really penetrate the outside. You could do, one of my favorite things for long and skinny shapes is to use wooden sticks. So these sticks would probably work really well in just kind of holding the form. I think what I could do is I could vary the thickness of my bands, and I could go and I could do some thinner rubber bands around it. And those are gonna create really cool lines on my fan fold. So I think I'm gonna do that for this one. You could also wrap twine around it, which would be really cool. Let's see. Do one more. I could, of course, put more lines into the design if I wanted to. I also like to make sure that the fabric kind of stays off to the sides so that when I do dip it into the indigo vat later, the dye can soak into the edges. So you should really see, and a lot of dye artists, as they're holding their piece under, they'll really open up the folds a little bit and let the dye really get into the folds. Okay, so that's my diagonal accordion. So that was step 2. My third one that I'm going to show you, and the last one today, is another simple accordion fold. And then we're going to use some found objects to create kind of a modern design. So I've got my last square napkin. I'm doing a set of 4, so I think I'm going to have to do a 4th one later. They're going to be all different patterns in this set, which I think is fun. But I'm going to do my accordion again. I think I'm going to just go that same 6th thickness because I like that and I've done that before. So I went ahead and I've got my 6 pleats there. Okay, and then you could fold it over again from the center. So I'm going to create a really balanced, symmetric shape here. And then I've got my clothespins, which you've probably been wondering. So we talked about found objects. A lot of people online have seen use pressure clips. Those seem to work really well to bind, and they give it like a more modern industrial kind of look to your shibori. But I like the clothespins because they create these little dots, which are found in some stitched shibori patterns. And I will show stitching in a later video because I do a lot of stitching, especially when I'm doing like a fine art piece or something like that. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna clip my clothespins all the way down. You could do it random, which looks cool. Like I've even seen one of my workshop guests did something really cool once. She did like 2 next to each other, 2 little dots, and then singles. She did a pattern with that. But for my cloth napkin set, which I've created a couple of times now, I like to stick with the same pattern, so I just offset the pins. So it's gonna come out like a little polka dot pattern. The easy thing about the clothespins is you can just adjust them accordingly. You can see some of mine have been used so many times, they're completely blue now. So this is what indigo looks like on wood. And then I'll go ahead, there we go. And I didn't do all the same size, so I might have some smaller dots and some bigger dots, which I think is fun, creates a little bit of variety in the art again. So that's my third one. I'm excited to dip and dye all of these and then show you guys. This is the basic accordion, clamped. It's also, this art of clamping is called shape resist, which in Japanese is referred to as Itajime Shibori. So this is clamped accordion. This is an accordion fold on a diagonal line using thinner pleats and then thinner lines, of course. And then here we are, the really simple modern design using found objects. I'll be back later to show you at the end of this video what these look like when they come out of the dye vat.